guys, Gareth here from Heartfelt Horsemanship. Got this young pony in for training to deal with anxiety, and before everyone worries about welfare issues, no, I will not be the one climbing on him first. He's way too small for me, so we'll have Talia get up there for the first ride. But one of the big things, so his owner is a very accomplished horsewoman. She's very capable. So two things to it. The two reasons why she sent him to me is she works full-time outside of the horse industry, and he's got a lot of anxiety issues. A little bit of his background: she adopted him from a rescue where he was, very sad story, his mother was hit by a car on a rural road and he was still nursing from her. So when they rescued him, he had to be hand reared. And hand rearing does raise some concerns. So I think a lot of his anxiety issues is linked to not knowing how to horse. So he is with us running with the herd, learning how to horse in the mountains. But we do have to deal with his reluctance about new objects. And if you follow the Heartfelt Horsemanship page, either Facebook, Instagram or YouTube, you will have heard me talk about how I'm pulling away from conventional, well, I have pulled away from conventional desensitizing. The trouble with conventional desensitizing, it normally pushes horse over threshold and they become shut down, which has some dangers involved. Some horses just take it and it goes well, but they lack connection, and connection is far more important than just obedience. If they're connected to you, the things that worry you, they're concerned about your safety as much as they're concerned about their own safety. And that's a big difference between obedience and connection. So this little guy is been with us for a week now, and he's got very rudimentary basics in place. So I feel that I've got enough communication and I've got him a little calmer that I can start introducing new scary stimulus. In this case, just the saddle pad and maybe even the saddle. I'm not going to go into detail about how I do this because it is very in-depth. So this is just a little bit of a way to show you that there is a different way other than the coming and flapping about. I want to get his curiosity up about the scary saddle pad. Now, he's already walked in. When I walked him past the saddle and saddle pad, he ran about 4 meters sideways. But just from hanging out in here and getting the grooming and us setting up the camera, he's already expressed an interest in that saddle. So I don't think it's going to be a lot to show you guys. But that is kind of the point. If we drop our agendas and let them investigate on their terms, it doesn't become a big rodeo to get them used to an object. He's already having some letdowns. So I'm just going to go through it and I'll talk as I go, but remember, this is not an instructional video. This is certainly not an instructional video in terms of how to introduce a saddle to a horse for the first time. There's a lot more to that. I do have material that can help you through that, or do video coaching for you guys if you are at the stage that you feel confident to introduce a horse to the saddle for the first time. This is just talking about why I'm moving away from desensitizing and showing how easy it can be for the horse. Okay, so clearly he's quite connected to me, even if he gets a little distracted. He's a youngster, still learning. Focus takes some time to build, but I'm going to see if he would like to investigate. I'm not dragging him to it, so there's a completely loose rein. Now he's going to have a look. Ooh, there's a little bit of a fright, but I'm not involved in that fright. That's a new object for him. He can have a look on his own terms. So this is leaning more towards habituation rather than desensitizing. And the way we manage our horses, that actually habituation happens fairly often, where they actually, so let's say fly spray for example, we had two wild fillies, well a wild mare and a wild filly come in, and just them watching the other horses get the spray habituated them to it. Very nice curiosity. And yes, he's biting it. I will not smack him for biting it. I am not going to reprimand him in any way if he gets a bit rough with the pad or the saddle. I'll try to save the saddle without telling him no, because that's just his investigation. We don't want him associating with any kind of reprimand. And follow other videos and other articles. I believe punishment has no place in the horse world. Okay, so now, what about if I picked it up? I'm not going to pick it up and flap it at him. Look how I already see he's nervous. I'm going to put it back down now and give him a rub. So I want to acknowledge that he has feelings in it. He got really tight about that thing coming at him. Now, one of the principles of Heartfelt horsemanship is never release on a brace. And the worry that I have with that principle, the principle is sound, but people's interpretation is, oh, we have to win. If I notice a horse, if I'm paying close attention and I notice them getting worried, I am going to respond and let them know that I've seen them before they get too worried, before they actually get to the point where they're bracing on me. So he didn't brace on me, he just tightened. I'm like, oh, I see your worry, and I am going to acknowledge it. Now I'll try to pick it up again. That was less of a response, and I'll actually take it away from him. And I'm kind of tiptoeing here, but I just want to be in tune with him and let him see that I'm paying attention. So that's quite a nice response. He's a little tense. Some signs I'm looking for is a tight muzzle and tight eyes. Has head lower than it was the first time, and his muzzle's quite soft, but he does have wrinkles under the eyelids. So I'm going to give a release here. What am I giving a release for? Relaxation. That is a try on his part. Now, we all, a lot of us that have come from natural horsemanship background learned, we come in and we flap and flap and flap until they move, keep their feet still, and then we take it away. I was doing as recently as probably 2015, 2016, and had great results across most horses. But the reality is, the horses that I wasn't having a great result with were the ones that were either heading to shut down or exploding. So this has really been an eye-opener for me. Changing to be a little bit more engaged with them and seeing them when they're getting worried, it makes it far less of an athletic endeavor. If you've ever tried those methods, you know you sometimes have these horses rearing and carrying on, dragging you around an arena. It's not pretty, and it's really not fair to take a horse to that and have to bring them back. If we can take it a little slower and then build up to it going where we don't have to tiptoe anymore. So there he's seen the, I don't know if you saw his eyes change there, he saw the pad, but he didn't move his head from this really relaxed position. Now, the question I get asked a lot in terms of people with this now is, what's the difference between relaxed and shut down? I'm still seeing him blinking. He's soft. I will get a response. If I open this, you'll see he will. There's the eye opening. He's here. He's not shut down. He's just relaxed. Okay. There's he going to put his nose on it. Oh, you're such a good boy. So I don't talk a lot to my horses while I work with them in terms of when I ask things of them, but I think it definitely does something to our energy when we give them praise. Now that's all been on the left eye. Let's see what he thinks about it on the right eye. So I haven't tried to throw it all over him or anything yet. It's just been about letting him have a look and have a feel right now. He's actually feeling it, rubbing it against his body himself. This is very clever boy. So never forget their prey animals, and coming at them with something flapping, they're going to be prejudiced and biased to think that that thing more than likely wants to eat them. So if they can have a look at it when it's not being threatening first, that's a great start. Now if he took a step back, I would stay with him, but I'm always looking up for an opportunity to pull back. And I wouldn't increase pressure. That's one of the big things that I've adjusted in the last 5 years is there was a thing of, I was taught of match the energy plus 10. And using that, I came to a few situations where match energy plus 10 ended up me pushing a horse to a major fight, and then I've got to bring it back from it. What I now do is whatever pressure was causing that level of resistance, I do not increase it, and I look for the slightest release. If they're moving their feet and running around, I'm not going to just release and say, oh, I see you, because then you're kind of teaching the behavior. So I'm going to look for the smaller sign and not let it get to that stage, is my ideal now. A little bit worried there. The head came up there, I acknowledge it, make sure he knows, and I'll take it away. He kept his feet still, there was no reason for me to move with him, and he keeps coming back to this point of looking and acknowledging there's not anything that's going to eat him. I do kind of wish I'd had the video going when we walked him past the saddle and he did his little beautiful side pass 5 meters away from the saddle. Spotted the camera there. When you start really paying attention to what your horse is focusing on, you notice how much they are aware of their environment. Okay, I'm going to break that one up and we can just stop there, Talia. I'll do a separate.